We were on our way to Mana Pools National Park in Zimbabwe. It had been on our bucket list for so long, decades actually, and at last we were getting there. The road was not always in great condition, lots of trucks, it's very far, and on the way there I started to say to my husband, I hope this is worth it. Saw our first baobab tree, and I now started to get more excited. But the road was very corrugated. At last we arrived at the gate. When we were checking in, we had a bit of competition. An elephant was checking in before us, so we thought we'd let him go ahead first and wait for him before we decided to try and get to reception. How special is that? What an amazing welcome. At reception you can buy permits for walking and also for fishing. I think Mana is the only place in Africa where you can walk without a guide, which is incredible. It's not recommended if you don't have any experience. There are amazing guides that you can book for the day, and they will give you an awesome experience. We arrived at Mucheni campsite, which was going to be our home for the next few days, 5 days, and what a place, what a view. Oh, and a long drop toilet. On the banks of the Zambezi River, with Zimbabwe on this side and Zambia on the other side. The Lower Zambezi National Park on the other side. So not too tacky. I could live with this for a few days. We were very excited. Elephants again to welcome us. There were large flocks of red-billed quailias. I was fascinated with these birds. You could hear them coming and flying, and they would all sort of maneuver at the same time. They were fascinating to watch. And then we also had a moon peeping out. First morning when we woke up, it was very hazy. There'd been fires in Zimbabwe and Mozambique. Not sure about Zambia as well, but it was very hazy. We couldn't even see the mountains on the other side of the Zambezi River. So it didn't detract from the beauty or anything else, but it was hazy. We had this chap around every afternoon, evening. In fact, on the first day when we arrived and we were setting up camp, it was a bit daunting having him close by. But we soon realized he didn't mean any harm, and if we were smart and didn't provoke it or scare it, he would realize we weren't going to do anything either. So this hippo would wander around at night. A hippo apparently eats about 40 kgs of grass at night. But what this guy was actually after was the pods from the anna trees. And there was one close to our tent, and so every evening he would arrive, gave us a bit of a look here, but realized we weren't a threat. And then he would arrive at the tree and start munching on the pods. It was actually very special to have him so close by and so relaxed. That's the incredible thing about Mana, is you just feel so much a part of the system. The animals kind of ignore you, and you can just really feel like a part of it. It's really very, very special. This guy would then find his path back into the river, and off he went. But he was a daily visitor, which is very special. The elephants were around daily. What a beautiful view from the tent. And sometimes they'd walk quite close by past the tent, but there was no aggression either from them. They would just happily and peacefully walk past. These chaps were digging for roots and tubers because there was not much grass around. This was a female with her two sub-adults, piglets. Mana in Shona means four, and it refers to the 4 permanent pools of water in Mana National Park. And then the anna trees or winter thorn trees provide food for the animals when it's dry. Their leaves are still on the trees, and obviously their pods are very nutritious. That's the scientific name of the anna tree. If you look closely, between these two elephants are some people sitting on a log. They are with a very experienced guide, and the guides know the elephant bulls. They know which ones are more relaxed around people, and it's just the most incredible experience to be on foot with elephants. This is the level of trust. Both of those elephants have got their backs towards the people. They're completely relaxed. This is a bull that used to, or that still does, stand up on his back legs. We were there in September, and I think the August winds were late because, wow, it was windy the whole time we were there in September. This is a leadwood pod or fruit, and the sound of these rustling pods is incredible, but unfortunately the wind takes over. So many different habitats. It was very variable at Mana, which was so impressive. This is a Mapani woodland. You'd also get baobabs, palm trees, mahogany trees, a great variety of vegetation, and with that brings a diversity of species as well. And this is the Great Zambezi River. So on the side we were standing was Zimbabwe, on the other side was Zambia. These places have become very popular. So there's lots of lodges and places that have sprung up on the banks of the river. There are tiger fish in this river, and some of our party did decide to tiger fish. They bought a permit, and here they are giving it a go. But none of them caught tiger fish. They did catch chesa and some catfish or barbel, but no tiger fish, unfortunately. A few days later, wild dogs were seen in exactly this spot. We saw wild dogs in this spot here. And here there were palms which seemed like in the middle of nowhere. So great variety, great beauty. Namepi campsite. It's the public campsite. The ablutions looked very clean, nice showers and loos, and it was big enough to get your own private little patch on the Zambezi River. So in Mana there are wilderness campsites which have no facilities. You've got to bring everything, your own water, and then there are lodges, luxury lodges, and then the public campsite. The sandbank at the back there on the left is where I took some images of some carmine bee eaters, but I had to be quick because there was a hippo there that wasn't too relaxed, so I quickly took a few shots and we left. Starting to be able to see the mountains again. The haze or the smoke has lifted a bit. This little bee eater was displaying for its mate. It was a very hot day that day, and they were both hot and panting. Beaks are open. Sadly, we noticed quite a few elephant calves with problems with their back legs, or one of their back legs. And one of the guides told us that they're actually going to look into it now because there are sort of too many of them with this problem, or a problem. So it would be interesting to know what is discovered, but yeah, it was quite sad to see. This was always such a peaceful scene. Daily seeing the elephants. There were waterbuck, also hippo in the background. The one day we even saw lionesses crossing the river. So what a magical view to wake up to each morning. The zebra on the left is pregnant. These are virtual zebras. One very rarely sees a wildebeest at Mana. And there are apparently no giraffes there. There are some beautiful large herds of eland, and my fascination with red-billed quailias continued. Red-billed quailias breed where there are localized patches of plenty of food, and they put on enough fat to tide them over to the following rainy season. During winter, they cover huge areas in search of seed, and many of them die because they use up their fat reserves and they can't find food. So the winter wheat crops that man plants is like Christmas to them, providing food when the birds are kind of at their hungriest. So I can understand why farmers get nervous when they see these big swarms of birds coming. Or big flocks, sorry. This is a good example. You can see this elephant's angular forehead it's quite pronounced. So the cows have their forehead is shaped like this, whereas bulls have a rounded forehead or forehead. The white birds are cattle egrets, and they've just been opportunistic here. They're following the elephants, hoping they will disturb or flush out some insects which they will then catch. This impala ram was acting a bit strangely. He was a bit confused because he had seen a hyena sleeping, so he didn't quite know how to react. But it was a beautiful sunset, and the tree on the left is a sausage tree. There you can see the fruits hanging down. These hyena they'd either caught a zebra or scavenged, frightened lions or something off a zebra. And this one was carrying off the leg of the zebra. And this one had part of the head of the zebra. So hyenas don't only scavenge, they're also actually quite good hunters themselves. The females are actually larger than the males. Another hot day, and there was a young elephant there, actually lying flat on the ground, sleeping. The others were looking out for it. This was the lioness. You can see the photographers in the background. And then we had packed up camp and arrived at Chitake Springs, which is in the southern end of the park. And we were greeted by this crested francolin, and as you can see, it's still very, very windy. We packed up camp at Macheni in literally a sandstorm, and then when we were unpacking and putting camp up in Chitake, it was still very, very windy. This is the infamous Chitake Springs, where you get all those pictures and footage of buffalo coming down to drink with the lions attacking them. Our first visit to the springs, we saw this large troop of baboons and the helmeted guinea fowls. And then a little bit later, when it was almost dark already, we had 2 lionesses come down to drink, but excuse the quality, but it was very dark. There's the one lioness, and a little bit later you'll see one pop out behind her. And both nights at Chitake we had a pride of lions literally walk right past us in camp. I just wish I had videoed it. I was too taken in the moment to even think of videoing. I just enjoyed it. The following morning the baboons were in the fig tree that's at the sort of the Chitake lookout point, and they were eating figs and just behaving like baboons behave. They were ignoring us totally, and that's the joy of the animals not having been fed. And there was a lot of going up and coming down the tree, up and down, but they were really enjoying those figs. Hundreds of Cape turtle doves would come in to drink. I was quite surprised we didn't see more sort of raptors and birds of prey after them. They were around, but we didn't really see that many, or not as many as I thought we would. Then there's a section in the park with a lot of baobabs, and this was also such a special place to visit. Beautiful baobabs and just stunning views. We used this vantage point to see if we could spot any herds of buffalo, but unfortunately we couldn't see any. Tried to get a view from sort of further down the spring so you could get an idea of how much water there is. A buffalo that didn't make it. I wouldn't feed the animals, but this chap asked so nicely for water when we were packing up from Chitake, I had water in a bucket and he came racing towards me. So, shame, I gave him some water. This is what you do when your car's too full. And all I can say is Mana Pools is well worth the visit. It's far, not easy to get there, but still well worth the visit. And we will definitely be going back there sometime. Thank you so much for watching. And if you like this, please like it or subscribe if you're interested in this content. Thank you once again.